one of my favorite authors, Paulo Coelho, a book called The Alchemist. Paulo Coelho is a Brazilian author. The boy knew that it was a violation of the tradition, but it didn't matter to him now. I'm going away, he said. And I want you to know that I'm coming back. I love you because... Don't say anything, Fatima interrupted. One is loved because one is loved. No reason is needed for loving. But the boy continued. I had a dream, and I met a king. I sold a crystal, and I crossed the desert. And because the tribes declared war, I went to the well, seeking the alchemist. So I love you, because the entire universe conspired to help me find you. The two embraced. It was the first time either touched the other. I'll be back, the boy said. Before this, I always looked to the desert with longing, Fatima said. Now it will be with hope. My father went away one day, but he returned to my mother, and he always come back since then. He saw Fatima's eyes were filled with tears. You're crying. I'm a woman of the desert, she said, averting her face. But above all, I'm a woman. Fatima went back to her tent, and when the daylight came, she went out to the shore she'd done for years. But everything was changed. The boy was no longer at the oasis, and the oasis would never again be the same, have the same meaning it had only yesterday. It would no longer be a place with 50,000 palm trees and 300 wells, where the pilgrims arrived, relieved at the end of their long journey. No. From that day on, the oasis would be an empty place for her. From that day on, it was the desert that would be important. She looked out of the desert every day and would try to guess which star the boy was following in his search for treasures. She would send her kisses on the wind, hoping that the wind would touch the boy's face and would tell him that she was alive, that she was waiting for him, a woman awaiting a courageous man in search of his treasure. From that day on, the desert would represent the only thing to her, the hope of his return. Don't think about what you left behind, the alchemist said to the boy as they began to ride across the sand and desert. Everything is written in the soul of words, and there it will stay forever. Men dream more about coming home than about leaving, the boy said. He was already reaccustomed to the desert silence. If what one finds is made of matter, it will never spoil, and one can always come back. If what you found was only a moment of light, like the explosion of a star, you would find nothing upon your return. The man was speaking the language of alchemy, but the boy knew that he was referring to Fatima. It was difficult to not think about what he left behind. The desert, with its endless monotony, put him to dreaming. The boy could still see the palm trees, the well, the face of the woman he loved. He could see the Englishman at his experiments and the camel driver who was a teacher without realizing it. Maybe the alchemist has never been in love, the boy thought. The alchemist rode in front with a falcon on his shoulder. The bird knew the language of the desert. and whenever they stopped, he flew in search of game. On the first day, he returned with a rabbit, on the second with 2 birds. At night, they spread their sleeping gear and kept their fires hidden. The desert nights were cold and were becoming darker and darker as the phases of the moon passed. On the 7th day, the alchemist decided to make camp earlier than usual. The falcon flew off to find game, and the alchemist offered his water container to the boy. "You're almost at the end of your journey," said the alchemist. "I congratulate you for having pursued your destiny." "And you told me nothing along the way," the boy said. "I thought you were going to teach me some of the things you know. A while ago, I rode with a man across the desert, a man who had books on alchemy, but I wasn't able to learn anything from them." "There is only one way to learn," the alchemist answered. "It is through action. Everything you need to know, you have learned through your journey. You need to learn only one more thing." The boy wanted to know what that was, but the alchemist was searching the horizon, looking for the falcon. "Why do you call the alchemist?" the boy said. "Because that's what I am." "And what went wrong with the other alchemists when they tried to make gold and were unable to do so?" "They were only looking for gold," his companion answered. "They were seeking the treasure of their destiny without wanting to actually live that destiny." "What is it I still need to know?" the boy asked. But the alchemist continued to look at the horizon, and finally the falcon returned with their meal. They dug a hole in their fire and lit their fire so that the lights from the flame could not be seen. "I am an alchemist simply because I'm an alchemist," he said as he prepared the meal. "I learned the science from my grandfather, who learned it from his father, and so on, back to creation of the world. In those times, the master work could simply be written on a piece of emerald, but men began to reject the simple things and to write tracts, interpretation, and philosophical studies. They also began to feel that they knew a better way than what others had. The desert will give you an understanding of the world. In fact, anything on the face of the earth will do that. You don't even have to understand the desert. All you have to do is to contemplate a simple grain of sand, and you will see the marvels of creation." "But how do I immerse myself in the desert?" "Listen to your heart. It knows all things because it comes from the soul of the world, and one day it will return there." The boy tried to listen to his heart. It was not easy to do so. In earlier times, his heart had always been ready to tell him its story, but lately that wasn't true anymore. There had been times when its heart spent hours telling of his sadness, and other times when it became so emotionally over the desert sunrise that the boy had to hide his tears. His heart beat fastest when he spoke about the boy's treasure, and more slowly when the boy started to entrance at the endless horizons of the desert. But his heart was never quiet. Even when the boy and the alchemist had fallen into silence. "Why do we have to listen to our hearts?" the boy said. "Because wherever your heart is, that is where you will find true treasure." But my heart is agitated, the boy said. It has dreams, it gets emotional, it becomes passionate over a woman in the desert. It asks things of me, and it keeps things from me when I'm trying to sleep at nights. It keeps things from me when I'm thinking of her. Well, that is all good. Your heart is alive. Keep listening to what it has to say. The boy continued to listen to his heart as they crossed the desert. He came to understand the dodges and its tricks, and to accept it was as it was. He lost his fear. He forgot about the need to go back to his oasis, because one afternoon his heart told him that it was happy. Even though I complain sometimes, it said, it's because I'm the heart of a person, and people's hearts are that way. People are afraid to pursue their most important dreams because they feel they don't deserve them, or that they'll be unable to achieve them. Their hearts, become fearful just thinking about the loved ones who go on and go away forever, or of moments that could have been good but weren't, or the treasures that might be found but were forever hidden in the sands. Because when these things happen, we suffer terribly. My heart is afraid that it will suffer, the boy told the alchemist one night as they looked upon the moonless sky. Tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself, and that no heart has ever suffered when it goes into search of its dreams, because every second of the search is an encounter with eternity. Every second is a search of an entirety. Every search is a search of the eternity, the boy told his heart. When I've been truly searching for my treasure, every day has been luminous, because I know that every hour was part of that dream and that I would find it. When I have been truly searching for my treasure, I've discovered along the way that I've never seen and had what I've never seen, and that I had no courage to try the things that seemed impossible for a shepherd to achieve. So his heart was quiet for an entire afternoon. That night, the boy slept deeply, and when he woke, his heart began to tell him of things that came from the soul of the world. And it said that people who have God within them are always happy. Thank you.